Thank you for coming to this session. I know you guys are probably getting worn out from the day. My name is Jodie Steeley. I'm the Director of Distance Education and Instructional Technology, and you've probably seen my name more than my face because I live on a computer screen.
My name is Sue Yang. I'm the Instructional Designer here at Fresno City College.
Yeah, so what we're going to be presenting today is about universal design, which of course a big key component of that is captioning the videos, which we know has been and can be very challenging. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
All right, so here are the topics we're going to talk about. I'm going to start with universal design for learning, as well as new ruling from the Department of Justice that just came out in regards to the ADA Act Title II, which also affects us here in the community college. We'll briefly go over some of the existing tools for accessibility that are available to faculty in Canvas. And then Jodie's going to talk about the DECT grant as well as video elements, and then also a captioning service through Cielo for accurate captioning for your instructional videos.
I get to do the good part.
Yes.
for a change.
All right. So what is UDL? Is anyone familiar with UDL? No? Okay.
Something distance learning.
Distance learning.
Something.
Oh, universal.
Yes, universal. Yes. Close. Yes. UDL is universal design for learning. So not distance learning, but universal design for learning. It's a framework that guides the design of our learning environments and experiences so that they're accessible and inclusive, equitable, and challenging for every learner. And so when we intentionally design the learning environment to reduce barriers, every learner can be challenged and learn in a meaningful way. Ultimately, the goal of UDL is to develop learner agency. So as students, the ability for them to be able to regulate and act upon and make sense of the content that they're learning individually through interaction and reflection of their own learning. So where does UDL come from? Has anyone heard of CAST? No. All right, so CAST is a nonprofit education research and development organization that was founded in 1984. And they developed and created the UDL framework and guidelines that we have today, which I'll go over next as well. This framework was adopted and is used and recognized all over the world to make learning more inclusive. And so CAST, when they originally started, it did represent something. It did stand for Center for Applied Special Technology, but now they've just they've removed that and they're just known as CAST now. And their mission is to inspire, lead, convene a global community to design equitable, inclusive learning experiences through the UDL framework. And really, it's to eliminate barriers with intentional design so that everyone has the opportunity to grow and thrive in their learning. All right, so accessibility and universal design for learning. UDL and accessibility, they both are focused on increasing learning access and to reduce barriers for students. Now, the accessibility regulations, the ADA rules that we have guarantee that people with disabilities have the same opportunity as everyone else. So UDL looks at reducing other barriers to learning. So for example, those that may have limited or no technology skills, or maybe individuals who speak English as a second language, and so forth. And so when we want to start or create content with accessibility at the forefront, instead of having it be an afterthought.
If I could just share a
Yes.
little ditty. So there's an author that I really like, Thomas Tobin, and he has a book on universal design. And what he does is he takes the word accessibility and takes off, you know, the ability part, just keeps the access part. And so it's about everyone, right? And I have accommodations, right? I need the print to be bigger. I have captions on my TV, and I need glasses to see, you know, other things. So at some point we all have a certain accommodation, you know? So access for everyone is hard to argue with.
And when we talk about captions too, captions are required for videos, especially for those with disabilities. But captions help a lot of people. When I'm at the airport and whatnot, and I'm watching this screen, I can't hear what they're saying. But when the captions are on, I can definitely read what is going on or what they're speaking about. And so even though I may not have a learning disability or anything, those captions benefit everybody. And so that's part of the universal design for learning.
Background noise can really mess you up.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so before we jump into the principles, though, the UDL guidelines were the UDL guidelines 3.0 version were just released this past July. And so included in the guidelines now are they also address barriers to that were rooted in bias and exclusion of learners and everything. And so the guidelines, they're organized according to 3 principles of UDL. Engagement, which focuses on learners' interests, identities, effort, and persistence and emotional capacity. The representation focuses on perception, language, and symbols, and building knowledge. And action and expression focuses on interaction, expression and communication, and strategy development. And so as we look at the graphic organizer, you will see these 3 are the 3 principles are the columns at the top: engagement, representation, action, and research. Each design option includes a set of concrete suggestions that can be applied to any discipline to ensure learners can access and participate in their focus is in meaningful and challenging learning opportunities. I won't go into details today on using this graphic organizer, but we do plan to have some upcoming workshops that will take a deeper dive into implementing the UDL framework into your teaching. So look for that as well. So as I mentioned earlier, the Department of Justice, they issued a rule revising Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And in this ruling, they established specific requirements, including the adoption of a specific technical standard for making accessible web information and services. And so that includes content that we publish in our Canvas courses. The rule requires that any digital learning resource made appropriate for and usable by students with disabilities have to conform to the WCAG 2.1 level AA requirements. The rule also sets a compliance date depending on the population of our entity. It's 2027 for fewer than 50,000 people and 2026 for 50,000 people or more. And so for us, I'm just interpreting this ruling, but for us, ours would be the fewer than, so it would give us 2027. And so what does, before I go into that though, we're going to jump into a little rabbit hole for a minute, and I'm going to briefly cover WCAG 2.1. Does anyone know what that is? Okay, so what is it? WCAG. WCAG stands for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And these guidelines are set by W3C, which is the World Wide Web Consortium. And there's a whole history on the formation of this group around the World Wide Web. After the World Wide Web was the internet was invented, and I'm not going to go into details, but you can definitely Google W3C and read their history and how globally the WCAG is recognized and is becoming has become standard for web accessibility. WCAG, they provide 4 principles of accessibility. So perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. And so again, as I mentioned, when in the ADA Title II changes, they're referencing that web accessibility has to meet the WCAG 2.1 guidelines. And so perceivable, basically information must be presentable to users in ways that they can perceive. So for example, providing alt text to images or closed captions, which what we're talking about today for videos. Operable, components and navigation must be operable. So for example, someone without a mouse should be able to use the keyboard to navigate and find information on our pages. Understandable, users must be able to understand the information as well as the operation of the user interface. And this would include structuring your information so that there's headers and subheaders so that someone with a screen reader can just jump to a specific spot. And robust, so users must be able to access the content as technologies advance. And for example, screen reader technology or other assistive technology should be able to use the information as well. Okay, but again, what does this mean? What do I have to do, and what kind of help is there for me, right? Okay, so I'm going to talk about some tools that we already have in Canvas that helps you as you're creating your content for your courses. Canvas has a built-in accessibility checker in the rich content editor. And every time you create a new page, a discussion, an assignment, you'll see the accessibility checker icon at the bottom there. And as you're creating your content, it's scanning your page to see if there are any accessibility errors or warnings that it wants to notify you about. And if it does, it gives you a little number by the icon there. And so when you click on that notification, there's going to be a tray that opens on the side. It's going to give you a description of what it's detected, how you can fix it, and you can fix it directly in that tray there most of the time. If not, it'll direct you to where it is on your page so that you can fix it. just keep in mind that the Canvas accessibility checker, though, it's not as robust, and it's limited in what it is scanning on your page then. But it is a good first step to take a look at, you know, is my page accessible? Is my assignment accessible? Whatnot. Now, another tool that's also integrated into Canvas and in the rich content editor is the PopeTech scanner. And so as you create pages, assignments, or discussions, you'll see the PopeTech icon, which is below the Canvas accessibility icon, but next to where you can save and publish your pages. So when you click on that icon, if there are any scanned issues on that page, you can fix it directly there. Again, there will be a brief description, why it's recommended to be fixed, and how to fix it. Now, when you click on that icon, when you see that tray, you'll see that it's more robust and there's additional information, more so than what was included in the Canvas accessibility checker. Again, I won't go into detail about how to use this tool. But again, we will offer workshops throughout the semester so that you can come in and we can do a hands-on of learning to fix any of the issues that may come up in your courses here.
But in the meantime, Sue, isn't there information in the BHF?
Yes, if you are eager to learn in our virtual hub for faculty, there is already instructions on what PopeTech is and how you can use it to fix any accessibility issues that may come across in your course. With PopeTech, there is also the dashboards that was just recently released. Was it last spring? I can't remember exactly when it was. But those dashboards give you an overview of your entire course then. And so you don't have to go page by page or anything. You can actually look at it at a larger view with your course. And again, it'll list, you know, how many errors, how many warnings. And again, you can click on it for more information, go directly to that page to make the edits and changes as appropriate. Now, not only does it give you an overview of your course, there's a My Dashboard. And so when you click on My Dashboard, that's all of your courses then. And so you can get an overview of any issues that have been detected in all of your courses. And when you click on one of those, then you can just, it'll take you directly to that page or that item in that course, and you're able to just make those changes there. Yes. Yes. Yes, that's correct. Yep. So the question from the audience member, I'm not sure if those online heard it, but he was asking about the icon, if that was what PopeTech was for. And yes, that's correct. So the P that you'll see next to the cancel save when you're creating assignments or pages or anything like that, that stands for PopeTech. Are there any questions? Okay.
Looking forever trying to figure out.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes. Yep. So the P down here is for PopeTech. The one that's up here with the notification, that's just the built-in Canvas accessibility checker.
I mean, that's usually a picture, like they want alternate text for the picture.
Definitely. Yes.
Image.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
Tracy, did you say you check on that photo tab? Something will tell you something.
Yes. So if there are any issues, there's gonna when you click on it, it'll open up on the side a tray and it'll tell you if there's any issues. If not, then it'll just say 00.
And the other place I was helping somebody today, and they were looking at, you know, where you can see all your courses, when you click courses and see all your courses that are listed there, and you star them and all of that. There's another column that has a red box with an X through it and a number next to it. That's PopeTech, indicating how many errors are in there to be looked at. Yeah.
And then Canvas Studio. Now, this is not for scanning your pages or content that you may create, but this is for your media files then. So videos that you may create. You can upload it into Canvas Studio and then embed it into any of your courses that you teach. But before, you used to have to manually go in and generate the captions for your video. But now, I believe it was, I can't remember exactly when either, maybe last spring or so, Canvas now, the studio now generates those captions for you automatically. They're not 100% accurate, but they will generate the captions for you. And you can go in and you can edit the captions to ensure that they are 100% accurate.
So, do you mean like a video, like I have a YouTube channel? YouTube video embedding with that?
So YouTube, yes, so YouTube has their own captioning for the
Right.
videos and everything. And so if you are sharing from YouTube directly, then, you know,
You don't have
the
to
caption,
go through
yeah,
that.
you don't have to go through this, yes,
As
And-
long as it's content that you created,
Yes.
there's a bunch of roadblocks for copyright or no attribution and
Yes,
yeah.
that's another
Yeah.
topic.
We're gonna stick with instructor created content.
And I'll hand it over to Dr. Steele.
Oh, it's my turn already. How many of you use Canvas Studio? Yeah,
I want to.
you wanted to, and they're like, but the rest of you, I just heard of it and you use it? Do you
I've
use it?
used it a couple times.
Yeah, it's I really like it because it creates an archive from all of your classes in one place, which is pretty nice to have. And we have really encouraged faculty to use Canvas Studio. One reason is because it's free. We get access to Canvas Studio through the CDC, used to be known as OEI grant. And they provided now a 3-year contract with Canvas Studio. So we've already gone through one. So it's really fantastic. I mean, to look at how much data we have in Canvas, it's tremendous for a college this size. But it works fine. It has Screencast-O-Matic under the hood. So if you've have used Screencast-O-Matic before, then it's going to give you an option that recognizes that it is a Screencast-O-Matic video. So it seems to be pretty intuitive for those who have used that product before too. So UDL, I really like the concept because it is about everyone, and not all of our students will go and get formal accommodations, you know, for whatever reason. Like my son is colorblind, he can't see green, but he's not going to go through all of that to, you know, indicate he can't see green. But when things are created with universal design and ADA compliance, you get the color contrast, and it recommends things that are not so green, right, that everybody can see. So I really like that. The more I think about it, I realize also for myself of how many different ways that I adjust the content that I interact with. Do you guys do that? Do you change your font size or?
Yes.
Right?
Dark.
What's that?
I
The
need dark mode.
dark mode. Yeah.
Eyes.
Yes.
I adjust all of my.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
opposite, I have to tip my thing way back so that everything's more bright. I hate these new phones where the background's like a color and the font is white.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is that?
Yeah. And there is that accessibility setting on your phones. I only know iPhone, but I'm sure that Android has it and all of those. But I've gone in and modified it. Not that, you know, I'm defined as ADA or needing accommodations, but I go in there, I change the color of my screen and the size, and it works pretty good. I've had people look over my shoulder, how do you get it that big? like that. But when you do that and go to a website that has more information, it's not mobile friendly, you don't get to see some of it. So then I've had to shrink it back, but no big deal. I accommodate for myself. I guess so. Yeah. So, how many of you use captions when you watch TV or video or anything like that? Yeah, a lot of people do. We have them on our TV all the time. And that's because we like to watch shows where they do have a heavy accent and you might miss a word or so. Game of Thrones is one that's just classic because it's so loud in the background and the people speak with an accent. There's a lot going on. And so to follow that is really helpful. So we know that a lot of people use captions, even though they're not necessary for them. Sue already mentioned the legislation, and I don't like to lean on that as much, because we have heard people say, well, I don't have anybody in my classes that need remediation or haven't been identified. And, they don't have to. And that's why we create the content to where it can be interacted with anybody. So I like to focus on the access portion of the word, of accessibility, and that works out for me. This is one of the surveys I pulled up. There's lots of them on the internet about how many people use captions. I didn't put it on here, but I read a study about how the hearing of younger people is being affected because they wear headphones so much. And so it's really having a negative impact on their hearing. So they estimate that as we go through these decades, you're going to have more people whose hearing is minimized just because of, regular use. So that's where captions really come in. This particular survey asked people of all different ages, do you use captions and why? Right? So I'm going to pick on somebody like, Alan, why do you use captions?
Because why is it? Because the background in the audio, but I am looking at audio as muddled, and I think that's it. It seems like the production of television and movies has made it harder to hear what people are saying.
Yeah.
And so when you see the captions, you pick up the fact that there are many more sounds and words being said that make you hear.
Right. Anyone else want to share why you use captions?
Outlander.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, accent. Oh,
Accent, man.
yeah. It's beautiful, but I didn't get that word. Yeah, exactly. We have two people of student age. Do you guys use captions when you interact with material? Yeah, you do too? Yeah, it is becoming more common. You can see just by this small survey that people of the newer generations tend to use it more than the older generations, which is, I found that kind of counterintuitive to what I would think. But I also remember going to my grandma's and she'd have that volume cranked up so high, oh, you don't need captions, huh, Grandma? She was 90, okay? I mean.
What's interesting? I do that, what your grandmother does, and I find caption, just for me, personally, distracting. You know how the news sometimes has that, that
ribbit, yeah.
Really distracting to what I'm trying to hear.
Yes.
Interesting. People are different. That's interesting about the younger generation.
Yeah. I think it's the YouTube generation, YouTube, and you can watch that when you don't have headphones. You can watch it in a setting where there's other people that you're ignoring. You can, if you're in the car, you can continue to listen to it. But I don't know. What I think is really cool, just because of what you said, is that we have the option of consuming the material that works best for us, right? That is really nice. So when you design with UDL, that's what you're doing as well, is you're giving students that choice of what works best for them. And it's not always the same thing, I might want to listen to it today, but I can't, my baby's sleeping, I don't have headphones, I need to just read the captions. It just depends, but that's what we're giving folks is a different stream. That's what they call it in UDL. Is if you can present content in at least 2 different streams, ways to consume it or interact with it, then that's UDL. So the survey here, obviously it talks about the generational difference that I mentioned, but one of the other things is about staying focused on the screen. When I've seen another study about college students that some have reported that when they're reading it and watching it, they're processing it more, because they don't have to put as much energy into listening solely. They can do both. And of course, if it's recorded, they can listen to it again or rewind. You can't rewind what I just said in here. Well, it's re-recorded. That's not a good example, but you know what I'm saying. Yes.
Yeah, I have a lot of students confessing to me that they're reading the books using read aloud.
Yeah.
And I tell them I'm fine with that, but I just recommend still looking and annotating as you go along, not just, yeah, if it can help, it helps me out a lot too.
Yeah, exactly. Then of course you have students who English is not their first language, and having the captions there is very helpful. There's also other reasons, right? We have, like I think you were saying that there's so much sound, there's so much sound in the background. So even when we record our own videos, they're only as good as you speak, what microphone you have, and if you speak clearly without any ums or all of those things.
Even if you speak clearly,
Yeah.
if you're learning something that is brand new to you, and you do not recognize a word, it's going to take a lot to figure out what is this word.
Yes.
Chemistry, so
Yes.
many technical terms, science in general.
Yes.
So the captions help so much to reinforce what are the new terms that I'm learning here, and how do I note what they are, how to spell them.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Exactly. There's a lot of disciplines that we have in college that have very unique terminology that's not your common everyday terminology. And I think you're right, the sciences have a lot of that. Even computer technology, it's very difficult for AI to pick up or spell when you're talking about C++, which is a programming thing. It doesn't always spell it the way that it should be, which is in the text or what have you. It should be C and then 2 plus signs, not C or the C. English language, right? I mean, oh my gosh, I don't have to learn that again. But there's also, when it's in a video format, you can have it translated into different languages too. That's pretty cool. For our students. So, we talk about, and Sue's given lots of sessions on this too, some of the best practices for when you're using video, because it's very powerful. Video is fantastic for students. And a lot of people utilize it. But sometimes I'm sure you've watched a video where you're thinking, this is so boring. Couldn't they have condensed what they're saying here? Where's your visuals at? The truth is that the human brain, in my PhD studies, my dissertation was on the efficacy of digital tools in the classroom on student learning. And a lot of that is based around brain neuroscience. And it is proven that our attention span is about 12 to 15 minutes. And if you have a 50-minute class and you're just going, your students are missing a lot of that. Not because you're not fantastic and super interesting, but physiologically, it's not sticking. So if you interject something every 12 to 15 minutes to kind of reset, then it improves learning. Now, the study that I looked at, I don't think you can get away with it anymore. but they strap students with a sensor and they track their brain waves and their heart rate. And so when they interjected things, to spike it up, that's how they ended up proving that it worked. They didn't shock the students. That's a whole different psycho study, right? But they did prove of how the body responds to learning. And it's kind of fun to play with that, actually. When I taught history, I would pull songs from YouTube. It's very labor intensive. And I would use a song that connected with the content that we were discussing. I don't know. Oh, the Spanish conquistadors. They were all about money, right? So I'd play a song like Got Money, or I would pull from the students what was popular that day. So it was really fun, but it really just set the tone for the class again, reset us, just 10 or 15 seconds of that. So I practiced it on my students. I guess they just didn't know I was experimenting on them. I don't know.
Change.
Yeah, you probably get a sense for how I taught history for 17 years.
It's like 50 back 2 years. I noticed because I have a night class.
Yes.
I have students who are very sleepy, or just have trouble focusing in general. And the interjections do help. But because I sound like me all the time, or the content sounds the same all the time, I was trying to pick up ways to interject in a way that would shock them out of that.
Yes.
I have a little miniature rubber chicken.
Okay.
Squawk. It's not a normal sound.
Oh, you have it squawk?
Yeah, it's not a normal sound, so I thought every so often, if I need something they need to quick pay attention to, I'm like, this is not a sound you're going to hear normally.
Oh.
Redirect attention.
There you go.
I don't have a time. I can't go through and select certain things, but I'm like, I need a sound that's easy to grab that might be back in.
Yeah, it's all about, there's a whole, genre about active learning and engagement, which is really quite fun to try out. The peer sharing, where you're actually taking the information and teaching it to someone else, that's really where it sticks. But I'm digressing. I'm going into some other direction. But that's why I like these flex sessions too, because we're interacting with each other. I don't want to just stand here and drone on and read these slides to you. That's not as engaging. So when we have these sessions on recording video and making the use of it, we really encourage folks to make them short. And if you make them anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, that's most effective. Download speeds too. It really helps students. We talked about that this morning. If the video is short, the download speed is shorter for some folks. And then if you have them pause, and answer questions about that content that they just watched. When you go on YouTube or interact with any kind of video content, you'll notice that it is less than 15 minutes. So that's based on neuroscience. Yes. Hi.
So this is long, so I'll read it out. Editing captions would be much easier if it included a find/replace tool, as in MS Word. Is there a way to export a Zoom translation, use Word to edit the translation, and then editing captions would be much, that's the same thing.
Wow.
So can you, is there a way to export a Zoom translation, use Word to edit the translation, and then edit the captions?
Yeah, that sounds pretty labor intensive, right? So I think what we have with professional captions will help with that. I still believe that setting it up with the right microphone, the quiet area will help that as well. But I don't know if that's possible. Do you, Sue?
If you're recording the Zoom videos, I believe when you view the recording, there is captions that you can download. But again, as Jodie mentioned, revising those captions and editing them for accuracy, it will take a lot of time. And I think one of the options that we're going to share may be beneficial to you, to make this process a little bit easier for you to get the captions you need.
Yeah, because machine captioning, auto captioning, AI captioning is getting better all the time. But it's not perfect. See, AI is never going to replace us. It's not perfect. But the captioning services we're going to introduce you to use a combination of, there's like a hybrid where they have do the machine learning, to do the auto captions, and then they have a real human that edits, looks through them so that they strive for that 99% accuracy. Still, the way that you capture what you're saying and doing has an impact, but it's a service that if you did that on your own, it would cost you quite a bit of money. So we're very lucky to have access to this grant. Everybody has access to it. All the community colleges have access to it. It's just a little intensive to launch it and feed it and maintain it. So we're going to do the best that we can. It's not something that DSP&S offices cover. If you've tried to elicit their services for students who don't require accommodations, they won't remediate that content. So we have to find a different way. But we're going to try it and see how it works out. I don't think that, did we answer their question about Zoom? Taking it out, editing it, and all that. Yeah. No easy way, huh? I already talked about the best practices for creating videos. The biggest recommendation, and one that I always think I'll do, but I don't because I have time, is to write a script. That way you keep yourself, on task, and you lose those ums and ands and all of those ticks. So that really is the best way. And if you're working with short content, that probably is more reasonable. The other narration that you see here about how to explain what you want a student to do or anybody to do can be helped with explicit instructions. So if you have a video, right, there's not all content can be submitted to the DECT grant. It's very specific. It used to be only for distance ed classes, but now it's for any content that you create that is virtually interacted with by students. So most people here use Canvas, even for face-to-face courses. So any of that content you can submit for captioning.
So just to clarify, even if you're not teaching online.
If you're putting them in Canvas for students to use, yes.
It could be in face-to-face, but you put it in Canvas, so face-to-face teachers can use those.
They ask you to confirm that it's for an online or hybrid class. But if it's for online interaction, then that's when you would click.
Right.
Yeah.
Because my colleagues are concerned about that.
Yeah.
But everybody has access to it.
They will, yes. Yes.
So it was something I think in the description of this class.
Oh, Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They have us write those. What was that back in April when you submit your flex? Okay, I'll just put this in there.
Okay.
So, it's really, really challenging sometimes.
Okay.
This is just a graphic that helps you with the consideration for submitting to the DECT grant. If you have a video that you created, as I said before, we're really focused just on instructor created content. And so obviously that would be yes. And then you go to the next area and it says if it's video recordings that are, what is it? Create and curate accessible videos moving forward. I don't know what that means. So I think supplemental videos would be what you're saying. If you're doing stuff in class, but then you also put something online to help them to understand, that's kind of supplemental. So when they say that they prioritize those, I don't know how they would do that. To be honest, I really don't know how they would do that. So again, we're going to do the best we can. Have any of you used 3C Media before?
That's the one that's been around for
Long time, yeah, long time. The DECT,
Takes a while to,
it's,
there's people all over the world that are doing it.
yeah, yeah. And 3C Media has been around a long time to where it was, I think, the only vendor that the DECT grant would go through before. So the DECT grant was alive before COVID. Every year it ran out of money. And so when COVID started, the money had already run out by February 14th. I remember that because it didn't feel like a Valentine gift. You know, it ran out. So people were scrambling, especially as you were all creating massive content for that transition. So they got the funding back up again. It was very, very clunky to submit things. You had to export the video and the transcription file separately. There was just all this madness to doing it. But it's different now. The DECT grant operates right through 3C Media, but there are requirements and limitations. And you could go and submit something right now through there. You make your own account and it gives you instructions for how to submit. However, you can only submit one video at a time, and it can't be more than 1 gigabyte. GB. Can only be 1 GB. Now I had to look up and see what that was. So it said that for your average YouTube video at 1080, that's about 30 minutes. If you're using high definition, it's going to gobble that up a lot faster. So just to give you a sense. And I think this is their way of saying, look, 15 to 20 minutes is your best chunk here. But just to be aware of that. You also can make it public or private. I'm not sure what the default is, but if you go to 3C Media, to their homepage, you'll see the Chancellor's Office board meetings. You'll see a lot of other content, even some of our instructors. Really old content is still in there, open to the public. So it really is dependent on what your needs are and what you're going to do with it. The reason that we chose Cielo24 is because of the direct connection to Canvas Studio. That only happened last February. No other vendor had done it. And so they did. What I didn't know is that we have started this project in April or May. We're like, oh, it's so cool. Let's set up an account, get all going. We were the first community college in California to do it. And they didn't tell me. So here we are. I thought this would be ready for summer. We'd be releasing it out to everybody. Oh my gosh. You know what it's like to be a pioneer in something, right? Oh, we're almost there. Oh, look, we're almost there. Oh, okay. You all had a group of faculty that were willing to go through that with me, and it was challenging. I'm a pretty determined person, but a couple of times I'm like, I don't want to do this. No more. But we are here. And
They were getting fixed and stuff as you went.
no, it's I won't get into all the technical terms, but Canvas Studio has to be integrated with the system behind the scenes. And because what it does is you submit your video through Canvas Studio, and then it gets right back there. It never leaves. And that's the difference between that and 3C Media or YouTube, you know, where you're sending things out here. This keeps it all in one place, which is what I really liked about it. Keeps it secure. It's not public. But there were some challenges with approval and checking. I'll show you the process, and I think you'll understand. But again, you can use 3C Media right now and go in and submit, try it out. What I find odd is that you can submit it for auto captioning. Like, I don't need 3C Media to do that, right? We already have tools that do auto captioning. But in any case, so this is the partnership that we've chosen. And really, it was about making it as easy as possible for faculty, right? Because if it's not the easy button, I'm not as excited about going that route. And so a lot of content isn't captioned because it's too difficult. So that's why I liked this company and that's who we're using. One really cool thing about it is that it translates your videos too. I mean, if you were speaking another language, it would translate that into others. This here is an example. So when you submit a video, you could have it translated into Spanish or Vietnamese, any of those. And I think for the student population we serve, that's pretty cool, right? Yeah, really neat. I've always been one who's not a fan of the English language sort of being a paywall to education. You know, like you have to speak English in order to learn this. But we need bilingual people out in these professions. And so we should be harnessing that skill rather than trying to force them to learn English and learn the content at the same time. I mean, we could all go over to France and try to learn math. You know, if it was in French, is math, oh, it's so hard. But I just think this is really neat to convert your transcripts. It also has more interaction. What you're seeing with 3C Media or YouTube is that it's a pretty flat file. So with Cielo, you can do word search. It will show you what the most common word used is. The student can go and search the video for a word. You know, if they're like, oh, I remember I heard something about cell membranes. Well, I don't remember where that's at in this video, right? They can look it up and go right to that part of the video. That's a really fantastic thing. What was also really a seller for me was for the sciences and those discipline-specific languages that are not common. You know, like when somebody's talking about math and I'll say you're speaking a whole nother language, and then they're like, no, it's the universal language. Okay. You know, having a glossary, so we can submit a glossary to them, which they will refer to, the human will refer to that glossary for complex words to make sure they're spelled right and that the video is 99% accurate. So I really liked that too, to fit for our faculty. There's other parts of it too that just are more robust than a flat file. And you'll see when you get in and play with it, you'll see what the capacity is. I think that's the best way to see how it all works. So again, other faculty went through this. They submitted a couple of times until it actually worked. It does work. We have gotten feedback from them that they got back what they needed. They do have two options, which again, I don't really understand why there would be two options. If somebody's telling you that the AI generated captions are probably 85% accurate, well, okay, I'll call it good. That's great. But with the new law, the Title II, it has to be better than that. So we're looking at closer to 99%. Yeah. And to help meet that, we have professional services, right? Yay! So the way that it works, you go into Studio and you will select the captions button, and then, which is what comes up here. If you already have auto captions, you have to remove those. It'll ask you to remove them. Okay, yes. And then you submit the video. It doesn't go anywhere, it stays there, but it is submitted for captioning. There are trainings through the company that are online that you can, you know, briefly go over. They're anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes. Oh, so they're easily digestible. We also created a form. We've been trying to figure out, so how do we do this? There's a lot of faculty here and a lot of content. And if another office isn't taking this over, we're not quite sure how we're gonna manage all of it, to be honest. But it will give me a good reason, if it's too overwhelming, to ask for more help, which I should just do that right now. But this form is going to start the process. So the form will be available to you and it'll ask you specific information, you know, about your division and your department. And then if it's an online or hybrid course, and with the course title, then the section number. But do you all teach like the same course, but several sections? Right? Like what's an example for you, Alan?
Public speaking.
Public speaking. So you have, you know, section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then section 4, 5, 7, 6, right? So if you have two sections like that and you're using the content for both, you put both sections on there. And that's because of the reporting after, which again, I don't know how we're gonna do it, but the reporting after at the end of every semester, we have to report back to the DECT grant about the success and retention of the students. I don't know what it means to them, but that's what they want and that's what we will give them. So you'll have to indicate what your class size is and the number of minutes you need for the course. Now, the difference between this and 3C Media is that you can submit enough minutes for, you know, like the month or something. If you have content that you know you're going to use, you can just submit the number of minutes that you need. And then those are approved. And once you get that approval, you can, you know, submit 6 videos if you want, 7, right? So that's the difference that I liked also, because I think we're starting from a point where we haven't embedded that practice easily enough to where I think there's going to be a lot of content at first, right? And that's okay. So this is the process. So the faculty, we had to actually draw a diagram of how all of this was going to happen. So you submit the form and we get it and we put them on this form right here. You see like a kind of a breakout of it, right? This is the DECT grant application. So we're going to put all of the information that you gave us because you can't fill out this form yourself. Okay. I'm not going to bother you with the details. Okay. We got you. And so we're going to take all that information, put it on this form, but also we send it to Celio so that we can get a quote. Now that's where being accurate with the number of minutes that you need is very important. Always overestimate, because whatever minutes you don't use will go back into the pot at the end of the semester. So that's kind of when they recalibrate everything. Sounds like a phone plan, huh? You got to use all your data or whatever. Now, this grant is also supposed to be for 3 years. I want to believe them. I really do. But my experience is that it ran out of money previous times before. People have assured me that's not going to happen this time. It's going to run. So we're going to go under that expectation. So it means you don't have to submit your whole class at one time. You can submit it in chunks. Just be aware that it's going to take time to process. And that's not because of the vendor, it's because of all this background stuff. So once we get the quote from the vendor, then we attach that quote to this application. Then we put it through Adobe and somebody at the DECT grant reviews it and signs it and approves it. And so then that goes to the vendor saying, okay, we're going to pay you for this quote. Once that happens, then I can go into Studio and approve the ones that are listed in the request and then approve them over in Celio 2. Yeah. It's really easy for faculty though. You submit, you get. What's that?
Would you say it's really easy for what?
Faculty.
Oh.
Right? Because you submit and you get it back. This is just behind all the scenes stuff and, you know, that it's going to take to make this work. So I'm sharing that because I'm going to ask for your patience. I can't commit that we're going to be able to turn these around real quick. In fact, I'm trying to figure out a way, and I've talked to other people to get their ideas, a way that we can process these with fair expectations and not too much of a burden on our existing staff, which hasn't grown since before COVID. We are 3 people still. Since before COVID and now, 3. Yes.
Someone asked, where do we find the form?
Oh, I haven't provided it yet. Because I know once I open that gate, we're gonna have to move to process that. And like you, to prepare for fall it's been quite a mountain, right? But it will go out, it will be released. And then again, this is where I ask for patience. My initial thought is that we submit them every Friday or something, like one day of the week, we do it, whatever's turned in that week, and we start the process. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but we'll have to wait and see. Yes.
So are you only captioning videos uploaded to Studio?
Yes. I love to accommodate everybody's unique requests. I really do. But at this time, I can't commit to that. We're barely going to be able to get this process in a timely manner, right? So we can bring that on later, probably. But right now, I just don't have the staff or capacity. But it's really important. It's really important that we do this work. And we give this to faculty to be able to use.
So just to clarify, there'll be a time, a gap between when she submitted and get the video back?
Yes.
You don't have an idea.
I don't.
You know what I find kind of ironic, and I really appreciate your efforts in doing this.
Mm-hmm.
What I really find ironic is that it is very important, and I would underline that and bold it. So why is it? I don't know the answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it should be made much easier for everyone involved.
I agree. And you know what I first did is I tried to request like a batch of minutes, right? We have these faculty and they're going to need about this much time. Can I just get this approved? No. You have to fill out this form with the course title, what you see here, anticipated enrollment, all of those things. So that was a couple of this, tripping points were just accepting the way the process has to be. And then we'll refine it and try to establish real expectations and some sort of schedule. But if yours don't go in that first batch, they'll go in the next batch. I also don't know how much are going to be submitted by faculty. We thought about, okay, we'll start with, this division or that division. And I don't know about that. So the biggest thing is we make sure that we are able to report the data back at the end of the semester, because I've heard that that's a lift. For some colleges that have been doing this for a while. Do you have any other questions that are online? Yeah.
Something else I wanted to mention too about the entire process. When we met and we were trying to, okay, how can we make this the easiest for faculty? With all the stipulations that come with the grant and, come from the DECT grant that they need, as well as the vendor and everything like that. This was, I think, one of the better ways that we thought would simplify this process, because yes, you just fill out a form, but on the back end, yes, the DECT grant, they're requiring us to do this and to do that. And, the vendor, it's not a simple process. Like the vendor needs this and that also that are required from the DECT grant. And so there's all these other steps that we had to take before we could actually okay, here's the video, we just want it back.
Yeah.
With the captions. I wish it was that simple, yes.
Have you all ever worked with a grant before? This is not unusual, is it? Yes. Yeah. This is not, when they're going to give you free money, you have to jump through the hoops. Yeah. And you decide whether it's worth it or not. And I absolutely agree with you. It's absolutely worth it from a universal design perspective and ADA compliance, but I say mostly for universal design.
So is there another solution to that ADA federal law, right, for captioning versus you having to go through all these hoops of the grant, right? That raises another very interesting question.
Yeah, and I haven't found a solution for that. That's why we grinded away all these months, refining the process, but we did trip a lot of times where we told, oh, it's working now. So I sent it out to faculty. Oh, you can submit your video. It's working now. I don't see the button. Oh, and so it was their settings in Canvas, settings in Celio, but we'll get it. It's just gonna take a little bit, but so when the DECT folks approve the quote and the classes, their turnaround's about 24 to 48 hours. But what I didn't know is the approval in studio and the approval in the vendor. That I wasn't aware of. And for that to happen, it's at least like another day that those buttons get on. So that's why I'm thinking maybe Fridays at the end of the week would be, we have to have some sort of regular schedule for this for us, but. Okay. Any other questions or? Yeah, we're in it. It's gonna get done. Right? Okay. Well, thank you again for coming and for finishing your day with us. I know that it's actually been a long 3 days, right? With all of these events. So be on the lookout for more information from us and of course the form. And, when I go like this and I make the form available, I'm probably going to be shaking with a glass of wine right here. But no, I'm kidding. We'll get it down. But thank you. And I hope you guys have a really good, refreshing start on Monday. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.